we dive straight into the next session, which is Industry Insight Over the Ropes by Sunny Goel. Sunny Goel, Partner and Group Head, Investment Strategy Consulting Group, NRI Consulting and Solutions, India. Sunny has a strong track record across M&A transactions, both buy-side and sell-side, largely on cross-border endeavors. Having worked with investment banking firms in the past, his experience includes complete transaction management, business valuation, financial due diligence, and negotiation roles. Request you to come up, Sunny. Warm welcome to you. And it's all yours for the next 20-odd minutes. Thank you.
I just want to make a quick one point before Sunny walks up the stage. This is part of the SSF Global's mission to really shape the direction of the industry and take it to countries beyond India. And in that journey, as you would have seen even yesterday, we have a jury panel member coming from Switzerland, we had sessions coming from Germany and US, and now we are having a webinar, something which is very Euro-focused session on 14th of December. This is an intensive effort which Nomura Research Institute and SSF has done to talk about what is next for Japanese company. So that's a part of the focus of SSF, and I'll request Sunny to take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hey, very good afternoon, everyone. Can I have the pointer for the presentation? In the meantime, yeah, very good afternoon, but I'm pretty sure many of you must be wondering what is good about this afternoon session before lunch, starting at lunchtime. But don't worry, please bear with me. I'll try to make it as crisp as possible, and I'll try to share some of the good insights which might help you to keep you up. So I would like to start with a simple quote which we all might be using in our day-to-day life, which is, alone we can do so little, but together we can change the world. And this sentiment perfectly captures the essence of this room, I would say shared services business model. So what I'm going to talk about, let me put in this manner. We all have been talking about US, Europe, Western world in last so many years. But have any one of you given any serious attention to Japan? So I'm coming from an organization called Nomura Consulting, which is a Japanese organization, and I thought I should talk about Japan today. And I try to keep it strictly in the context of shared service business model. I have a couple of colleagues with me from Japan. They will be supporting me, they will be participating in this presentation, and definitely I'm truly honored, thank you Rakesh, to make me part of this 12th annual conclave of SSF Global Forum. So to start with, I'll give a very quick introduction about myself, my colleagues, and my organization. My name is Sunny Goel. I'm working with Japan for more than 15 years now. I'm working with Nomura Group for more than 10 years now. The main role I'm doing at Nomura is to support most of the Korean and Japanese companies to go global. With that, I have my colleague Yamamoto-san here from Tokyo, who has specially traveled to India for this specific event. Actually, this is his first visit to India, and he's already surprised and fascinated looking at energies in this room, in this city, and I'm pretty sure he will take back good memories and good insight for Japanese companies. By the way, he has also worked around making some of the strategies for our clients around shared services, and he'll be sharing his experience with you shortly. And I have my another colleague, Ishigaki-san here, who has been deputed from our headquarters to India office within 2023 also. Ishigaki-san has almost 20 years of working experience both with government organizations as well as private organizations. Now talking about NRI, Nomura Research Institute, I think you all might have heard about Nomura Securities. And many of you might be wondering, what is this research institute? Is it a college or some research firm? So let me tell you, first of all, we are like brother and sister, Nomura Securities and us. We used to be one company, one group, till 1965. Stories goes back to 55 years ago, old. And then the internal management of Nomura, they decided to do some internal restructuring and they hived off entire IT and management consulting business into Nomura Research Institute. And that is when we got this prestigious title of Research Institute, which is normally designated to only think tanks in this world. So we were the first private think tank of Japan. We are a separate legal entity listed on Tokyo Stock Exchange with almost $16 billion of market cap, and we are churning around $5.5 billion of annual revenues. If I have to talk about NRI India, we started our India office in 2011 with only 5 employees, and now today I'm very proud to say we are already more than 200 employees. We also have our own small GCC team in India with almost 100 FTEs. We call it as Global Knowledge Center, which Ishigaki-san will talk about today. Now, before getting into specifics of shared services, let me give you a quick glance of why Japan, why at all we are talking about Japan. So, there is a reason, there is a healthy economic activities going on between India and Japan. So Japan is the 5th largest investor in India, having already invested more than $40 billion in last 2 decades. Also, if I have to talk about one of the biggest public financial institute of Japan, which is JBIC, Japan Bank for International Cooperation, which is largely providing financial support to Japanese companies to go overseas market. So they have recently announced India as the most attractive investment destination for next coming 5-6 years. Moving forward, not just about manufacturing space, because Japan is always associated with manufacturing space in India specifically, but let me tell you, Japan is also tapping startup ecosystem of India, with more than 100 active investors from Japan to India who have already concluded more than 360 transactions in Indian startup space. And above all, if we talk about the rate of Japanese companies entering to Indian market, it has grown phenomenally. From 1,400 companies in 2010, now it has already crossed 5,000 number in 2023. And all this is possible because of very strong, very healthy relationships of top leaders of both the countries. You might be aware of our Prime Minister used to have very warm and very strong relationship with Abe-san, then Prime Minister of Japan, and now with Kishida-san, current Prime Minister of Japan. In fact, Kishida-san from Japan has already visited India twice in 2023 itself, and last year he announced that Japan will invest almost $42 billion of investment in next 5 years to India. And lastly, how can I forget that most of our ambitious infrastructure projects in India have been supported or funded by Japan, be it Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, be it Shinkansen or bullet train project, and almost all major metro projects of the country are supported by Japan. And because of this, a continuous increase in bilateral trade can be observed. We have already crossed a number of $23 billion transactions on an annual basis. And this is only increasing. And not just on the industrial side, both the countries are also trying to improve their relationships around defense, social security, and even nuclear energy. And all this is possible because of a heavy and constant engagement between the ministries on both the sides, as well as trade associations. And I'm pretty sure in near future, SSF Global Forum will also participate in the same. I also want to talk about important thing here. There are 3 hot topics which are being discussed between 2 governments nowadays. One is skill development. I think India is full of human resource, but skill development is necessary. Second is digital partnership. And the third one is AI or Society 5.0. And this throws an immense opportunity for Indian companies to collaborate with Japanese environment. Now, coming to the specific of shared service business from Japanese point of view. So, as I initially mentioned that Western companies, it's already a buzzword in Western countries that shared services can be leveraged from India. However, we feel Japan was a missing point, and the next possible wave can be generated from Japan. Just to give you a context, in Japan, out of 33 companies, there is only one large-size company which is having a far shore shared service center out of Japan. And why is that? And why is that wave may come to India very soon? Because Japan has got a very unique set of challenges facing in front of them. We all know when we talk about Western world, they have been leveraging cost arbitration part. But in today's all the session, what I could hear, and I was very glad to know about that, almost all companies in India are moving away from the cost word and focusing on value creation. I think that is what Japan needs as of today. And why? Let me talk about three important challenges. First one, demographic problem. So Japan is an aging country. You will be surprised to know the birth rate in Japan as of today has hit all-time low, which is 1.25, as compared to a threshold of 2.07, which is required to maintain a stable population in any country. This is putting a big pressure on limited young population of Japan. And also, it is pushing older generation to drag themselves more and more. And that is why Japan really needs to overcome this problem, not because of cost, but because of value proposition. Second challenge is increasing geopolitical tension, especially with China. Now, 20 years back, 30 years back, a lot of Japanese companies, they moved their manufacturing activities and expanded massively in China, which naturally created a lot of bilingual resource pool in China. And leveraging that, a lot of shared service companies and BPO companies also moved to China. However, because of recent geopolitical situation with China, Japan, you might be aware of this, already announced during COVID years, China plus one strategy. And India is already trying to bang on that, especially on the manufacturing side, but I believe service sector is no new. Service sector can also capture those opportunities in near future. Not just with China, by the way, immediate neighbor of Japan, South Korea. You'll be surprised to know Japan doesn't share very healthy political relationship with South Korea. In fact, let me share one interesting instance. 5 years back, there was a wave in South Korea to boycott Japan and Japan products. So it's not just China, with Korea also they don't have good relationship, and it is good for us. And talking about US, I think US certainly there is a very healthy relationship between both the nations. However, it is not even close to any kind of cost competitiveness. Even to acquire talent, to manage that talent is something which Japan companies cannot do at all. And the final one, the last one and very important one, information security threat, which I think all the companies since yesterday are talking about, the major risk. And it is widely feared in Japan that China might access to their critical information or may control their sensitive data for their own gains. And apart from geopolitical risk, for Japanese company, information risk is quite high. So these are the challenges which I personally feel India can provide all sort of solution. We having a neutral position in global politics, we can be a big supporter and we can actually help Japanese companies to overcome these challenges. With that, I also want to share how shared services have evolved in Japan and will evolve in near future. So we have been doing this, by the way, this study with multiple Japanese companies for last many months now, understanding their views on shared services. And very interestingly, we got to know shared services, no new name to them. They have been leveraging shared services for last 30 years. And I'll call it as first wave, local SSC. But this is all restricted to onshore for their domestic business, nothing outside Japan. Having both the sides, BPO, customer facing, as well as GBS, which is largely focusing on HR, finance and accounts and IT functions. But last 20 years, last 2 decades, when Japan started expanding their activities heavily in China, So as I told you earlier, because of that there was a natural creation of bilingual resource. There was a big pool of that, as a result of which Dalian becomes a big hotspot for all kind of outsourcing and shared services activities. And with the current geopolitical situation and challenges, so that is one reason that Dalian is no more an attractive bet for Japanese company. Talking about very recent situation, so in Japan, many companies have already started thinking about now global GBS. Not just near shore, but they have already started exploring far shore. But this is just their first step. Now in this, of course, and the biggest reason for that is because now Japanese companies are trying to go global, to the Americas, to the Middle East, to the Africas, Pacific, and even South Asia and Southeast Asia. And there is a significant push from the Japan government side also to remove the barrier of stagnant economy in Japan and pushing them, incentivizing them to move out in this world. And that is how those fast shoring opportunities are going to become a big buzzword in Japan from now onwards. And above that, fourth wave, which I want to talk about, is next generation global SSC. I think everybody since yesterday has been talking about digital transformation, transformational activities. Now, I personally feel in case of Japan, third wave and fourth wave will get blended very soon, in next 2 to 3 years itself, which will be heavily focusing on digital utilization of digital transformation, deep tech technologies like generative AI, ML, data analytics. So this is what I wanted to share about, and at this moment, let me invite my colleague, Yamamoto-san, who will share what he has done very recently with one of our Japanese clients.
All right. Yeah. So thank you, Sunny-san. Thank you, Sunny-san, for the last few slides presentation. I'm just going to elaborate on what he just said earlier, particularly in the. It's working. Okay. Sorry. By the way, thank you for having me on such short notice, and especially for the people with this. My profile is not on the brochures, but despite that, thank you for having me. My name is Takashi Yamamoto from NLI Tokyo. I'm a senior consultant. I've been working on the home manufacturing projects. And this last year, it's been the topic of the shared service, and moving beyond SSC and GBS. Would be particularly phenomenal things happening in Japan. So I just want to elaborate on what Sunny-san has explained earlier. This is what I'm going to explain about the typical Japanese, let's say, $5 billion USD revenue-wise Japanese corporation. How they've been thinking about SSC. Well, right now, this is kind of like simplified chart, how we're going to be measure the matureness of the shared service center, particularly when the corporation trying to establish the SSC overseas operation from scratch. So this second trial, which would be talking about the maturity of the SSC. This is from the bottom to, it's going to be mostly it's called the routine work. It's just going to be so much like very basic, purely corporate function to be consolidated, such as employee data management, payroll, whatever. And then moving up and non-routine work, which requires some employees' particular judgments. And that will be kind of a tipping point how the Japanese SSC model would be just going into that phase. And one is more about strategic planning. Now, particularly for the manufacturing Japanese corporation, they've been trying to optimize global operations. In order to do that, they want to just focus on the strategic planning between local branches, offices, and headquarters. But in order to do so, it's just going to be so much inefficiency. So moving forward to the more one level is critical for Japanese corporations. And then, on the other side, when you see the horizontal line, this will also be about what kind of process should be consolidated in terms of the long terms as well. And it's just 2 types, let's say, for simplification, but for pure corporation function, let's say IT and HR, general affairs. And also process type 2 would be more for the non-corporate function, more leaning up to the upfront functions. So we're just going to be describe this universe as kind of like how Japanese social SSC model should be charged. But there are 3 typical discussions I just want to introduce. The first one is like I said, which process should be considered into the consolidation of shared service or maybe GBS in the future. And the second point, to what extent should the Japanese corporation get into this, scope? The third thing, which is more practical question, in which order, particularly like a corporation trying to establish overall overseas SSC operation, in which order they need to consolidate the process into the shared service. Particularly, lots of like 5 billion USD revenue-wise Japanese corporations, they've been right now encountering the very IT drastic transformations such as SAP, S/4HANA, and Oracle, etc. And this will really matter because they've been working on such gigantic system transformation. At the same time, they want to optimize the process model. So in that way, how much effort and in which order they need to be focusing on is quite the question, frequent question. So moving on to the next slide, Anissa. So this is one particular example that I've been worked on as a thing on the project. This is very, like I said, $5 billion revenue-wise Japanese corporation. They've been working on some shared service operations globally, and they want to set up in India in the future as a global hub of the GPS model. But they set up the so-called 7-year strategy. Then step by step, why they want to start from the bottom level, and in the end they want to start up to the level 3 in 7 years. And the ultimate goal is to, like I said, to make the global operation system optimized as possible, so that the global communication they can focus on a strategic domain in the future. But and we've just been set up the scope of the shared services. Just for the simplification, I've just been set up the scope of the SSC, but for some of the matrices, it's going to be called GBS. Why? Which the importance here is how the Japanese corporation to set up the law. And then the very basic thing is, like I said, the way they started from just going to consolidate the process they can be constraining as short as possible, such as single process operations, such as payable, receivable, payable, and cash management, etc. And they're going to take 2 years for the simple process to be consolidated. And after 2 years, they're going to start envision to make the consolidation end-to-end, such as order to cash, procure to payment, hire to retirement. In the pure corporate functions, it's going to be a little tricky for offering such services. But to make that kind of services possible is critical for the step 2. And at that time, it's going to be expanded for the front lines as well, to be considered as the domain of the SSC. And afterwards, after 5 years of making the entity more value added, so like we've been discussing about the power of technology, AI, etc., plus the knowledge consolidation. In that stage, whatever the process is going to be consolidated, the SSC itself is to be very value added process. So they're going to be offering business analysis, issue analysis, financial analysis, etc. That would be giving the benefits for all of the process owners. And in that state, they're going to make the true global excellent corporation. So that's kind of the case study, how we set up the structure and the vision of the SSC.
can we have Ishigaki-san to explain about NRI's GCC model very quickly?
Okay. Let me just quickly explain about the organization, which name is GKC, which we call, it is the capital letter of Global Knowledge Center. And again, my name is Satoru Ishigaki, as Sunny-san introduced me. I just joined to NRI India this June, so it is just 5 months since I came back to came to India. And I needed to adjust to many things because this was very first time to come to India. However, now I am very enjoying the life here. And as we work with Indian consultants, I now gradually understanding that it is very important to understand what is the difference and what is the similarity of our Japanese way of thinking and Indian's way of thinking. And let me quickly brief what we are doing as a GKC. We, NRI India, started our business since 2011, and we started in small size from the beginning as a management consulting firm. And we are all belonging to that division and working as a management consultants. However, we established the organization which name is GKC, the Global Knowledge Center, in 2019. And what we do is mainly we establish this organization as a GCC, the Global Capability Center, and we are focusing to the function of research. And what we do as a GKC is we do lots of surveys and research to the, not just for the Japanese company or the Japanese government, but also we do the researching things for the Indian local companies as well. And we hire, not just for the pure researcher, but also we hire mainly 30 language experts who are able to speak, the Indian researcher who are able to speak Japanese. And let me quickly explain what we do as a business. As we are writing for the small segments here, we do this kind of information gatherings for the ad hoc research, but not just for the ad hoc research. We do the regular watch in order to our company always needs to monitoring the same data in the different phases. And we, not just for the gathering all the information, we also do the analysis as well. And the points that I wanted to emphasize is this language services. We provide our information to our, let's say, for the Indian local company in English. However, we also need to provide those information to Japanese company or the public sectors. So in order to provide our value as a total, and not just for the Japanese company, but also for the Indian company as well. Always, as you know, the language barrier is always the big issue for us. So, because we hire those people, and we also have the chance to use AI translation as well. But as you know, that function is not perfect in this era. So we need to customize those documents in the very high quality so that both sides, Indians and Japanese sides, both would be able to understand in their own context. So we are utilizing this function and we are doing these initiatives, not just for the direct contact between our clients, but also we are trying to develop these functions in order to develop our capability as NRI India as total.
Screen is already red, I know, but I really want to cover two very important aspects very quickly. So one, as Ishigaki-san mentioned, that language is the biggest barrier for Indian companies to work with Japanese organization. But I think now we have solution. Now just like China, India is creating that ecosystem. Two important things here. In India, you'll be surprised to know graduating Japanese language experts in the tune of 35,000 students every year. And we have more than 300 Japanese language learning institutes in India as of now. Not just that, even Indian government has recognized Japanese language as one of the recommended foreign language in national education policy, which has been recently released last year. And second is technology. Not to forget, as you all know better than us, AI-based technologies are growing in a massive manner, and around translation, there are some of the big transformational activities which are happening, and it's just a matter of 1 or 2 more years. I think you'll all see very fluent translation which can be managed by the machines also. Second important part is, I'm skipping to the last page now, I think it is very important to understand how Japanese companies operate. What kind of an operation model is perfect for them. So we can talk about 2 extremes. One is a complete outsourcing to a third party, like BPO. And second extreme could be a complete captive organization managed by the Japanese headquarters. However, based on our especially recent interactions with Japanese companies, and not to give you any biased view, this is very generic view which we are trying to provide, that both the extremes might be not feasible for Japanese companies. Talking about BPO model, third-party outsourcing model, it might be good for 10 to 50 FTE case, but the moment there is a requirement to grow bigger than 100 FTEs to 1000 FTEs, then the kind of flexibility which clients are looking in Japan, they are not able to get that from a third-party outsourcing vendors. In general, I'm talking about, I'm sure many of you might be having much better solution, but that's their understanding. And talking about captive, I think the whole challenge from where we started about Japan shared services was limited human resource in Japan. Now that is why captives doesn't fit in their current scenario. They don't have resources to manage captive. So recently I got to know that there are some of the hybrid models now available in the market, and I was introduced to the dedicated captive model. I think those kind of hybrid solutions which are able to create a perfect balance between the ownership in that particular shared service center and as well as providing enough flexibility and safety around all those risks, including information security threat. I think those hybrid models would be the future of shared services with Japanese companies. So that is all from my side, my colleague's side. Thank you so much for your patient listening.
Thank you very much, Sunny Goel-san. And I request Ishigaki-san and Yamamoto-san to please join us here on stage. Would you go to the center, please? And calling upon Ravindra Pete, Senior General Manager and Head Tata Motors Business Services, to please come up to give away the thank you mementos to our Japanese friends, Ishigaki-san. Yamamoto-san. To Sunny Goel.